Hey!
Welcome, patrons and watchers of the time stream, to another episode of the Dungeon Cooldown.
Woo!
I'm Jeff Cannata, joined by Morgan Peter Brown. Hey, Morgan, how are you?
I'm well, my friend. Happy Monday.
Happy
Happy to be
Monday.
here.
Happy November.
Oh my God. I did tweet it
November.
this morning. What a decade this year has been.
Yeah, I mean, come on. How did we get to November of 2021 already? I can't even handle it.
I had the thought this morning. I was like, this was a year ago that we did our last Halloween episode of the Dungeon Run, which, if memory serves, is the episode that I cried the hardest out of any. And only part of it was yes, right. Only part of it was because of my eyeshadow. Boy, that was a tough night for me. Something hit emotionally that night that just really hurt. Yeah, I don't know what that was.
It doesn't feel like a year ago, that's for sure.
No, feels like several years ago.
This is, if this is your first time joining us, this is the companion show to the Dungeon Run. So you should know that we will probably have spoilers liberally thrown throughout this episode to everything up through episode 100 of the Dungeon Run, and including the Halloween one-shot called The Quest in Question that debuted on Wednesday. We'll be talking about all that stuff, anything that you want to talk about, in fact, because this show is all about you, our patrons, who make this show possible, make the Dungeon Run possible over at patreon.com/thedungeonrun. We get questions from you. We post a prompt to get questions every single week. So if you have questions for the cast that rotates in through this show every Monday,
We've already got Southern Fried Snark popping in saying first time live, long time fan. Hey, thanks, Southern Fried.
Welcome.
Southern Fried Snark. That's a great name.
That is very cool.
We're so happy to be here live with you all on Twitch. And also, yeah, the VOD available only to our patrons, as Jeff said. And
I did the Texas Shakespeare Festival one season, and the one thing I learned being in that area, which is basically Louisiana, it was like so far east Texas that it was like 20 minutes from the Louisiana border, Shreveport. But one thing I learned is that you're never more than 15 minutes away from chicken fried steak at any given time,
or just in that area, or Southern fried chicken fried anything, really. I mean, you can chicken fry anything, I think is the lesson.
And I love the idea of one thing fried in another thing.
Oh, you know?
That's right. That's the concept. So anyway, welcome.
It's like DNA mixing, but with grease.
Yeah.
Snickers, chicken fried Snickers.
Way of putting it. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Yes. Hybridizing.
Anyway, again, we will get to questions. If you're here in chat, we will get to those questions after we get to our patron questions. But please do consider becoming a patron if you are not one. Patreon.com/thedungeonrun.
We have some very exciting stuff on the Patreon going on right now. Jeff just this last week posted, I believe, the stats of a certain Lord of Crows.
I did. Yes.
I haven't looked at yet myself because I don't know. I was terrified to, honestly. But
yeah, I mean, it was. I felt like it was appropriate for Halloween to put the Lord of Crows, big impactful enemy in episode 99 and 100, and I thought it would be fun to show, what we were working with, and I think the goal is obviously to shed some insight into the actual stat blocks of some of the enemies that the Heroes of Bingle are dealing with, but also my hope is that people can bring these enemies into their home games if they choose. And to that end, Lord of Crows is really, I think, one of the more interesting stat blocks I posted, because there's a lot of stuff in his makeup, or in its makeup, that is that didn't really fit the situation that it was in. So it like can work in a completely different context in your home game, potentially, if you so choose, if you're at that Patreon level. There's like a lot of working from the shadows and kind of like stealth attacks that didn't really apply to the fight we were in, but I think would be a cool way to implement that character. So I
am currently running a Curse of Strahd campaign for some friends at home, and Lord of Crows might make an appearance. I don't know. We'll see.
You gotta let me know if you do. I always want people to like tell me if they use the characters. I think somebody today actually said, where is it? I think somebody said something that they were using the
I believe it's the Turles. Oh yes.
Yeah, no, David Gem Pro said the Fulling has been in his campaign. He said his players befriended the Fulling,
That's
and
one
the
way to do
feted
it.
attendant whose goo they ended up covered in were hits with my players in the campaign I'm running that
Ew.
recently returned to live in-person games. So
That's so awesome.
It makes me so happy that some of those wacky creatures are being used in other games. It's really neat.
I think we can also say that should be going up very shortly is the second episode of Arcane Artistry, our new series, our new interview series that deals with artists and designers and writers in the tabletop role-playing game space. And we talked about it a couple episodes ago. But yeah, Jared and Ron interviewed Sean Merwin from
Great.
Oh
wow.
gosh, yes, who's
everything.
He's worked on so many things and really exciting. And it's a beautiful conversation that's going up. Similar to the Amy Vorpal episode, it will be exclusive to our patrons for about a week, and then it will go out live to everybody else. So yeah, that's all levels get that one. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Boy, I mean, yeah, all kinds
and
of
it
new
only
stuff
made
out.
possible because of our patrons. Again,
Indeed.
these extra things
Indeed.
that we get to do, it's only possible because you support the show. So thank you.
Yes.
I do want to mention Whisper Josephine in the chat said she's having a Joral type of day. Is there an antidote? And I think we've all been there. And I think the only antidote, honestly, in my opinion, you can chime in as well. But my only thing is kind of the fact that we all relate to Joral, right?
Yeah.
We all relate to Joral. Is that it's a very common experience. We've all been there. We all have those days.
You're not
and
alone.
I think, yes, you're not alone. And I think that's the real takeaway from Joral is the reason that character speaks to people is because we all are Joral at one time or another, right?
That's absolutely true.
It's not forever, and it's and we've all been there. So you've got company.
That's correct.
Company.
Yes, yeah. You're not alone, and every day has its dawn. Yes, or has its
every
night.
Flower has its whatever. Every cowboy sings a sad song. Okay, let's read through some of these questions.
Beautiful. Hit me with
Dan
it.
Smith, our patron, says,
Hi,
congratulations on reaching your 100 episodes. It's been amazing to follow along with this story.
Can't believe it.
The chemistry has been great to watch develop between the cast and the DM. So I'd like to ask Jeff, what's been your favorite moment trolling the cast so far? Personally, the increasingly desperate situations you've left Joral in and the angst it has brought to the party has been fun to watch.
I can't believe you were ready to let us leave Turles without checking in with him. You're like, fine. What do you want to know what happens with Joral here? No, we came here for him.
That's true. You did.
Partially.
I don't think of it as trolling. Perhaps it can be defined that way, but I don't think of it as trolling. I think the only time I've ever really trolled was the pint sips pun. That was like I set that up, and I wanted that to happen real bad, and then it did, and I was very happy about that. So, but other than that, I don't think about trolling.
No, I don't know. I mean, you so beautifully, and I mean, it's part of a DM's responsibility, but you so beautifully embrace the surprise party element. And I mean, I think there's part of just laying traps for us, literal and figurative traps for us throughout. I don't really think of it as trolling either. You're right, but I'm trying to think of some of the other times where.
Well, I will say I think that metaphor is one I like a lot. The surprise party, and I think if you're throwing a surprise party for people, the goal is to have them have the best time ever, right?
Completely. Yeah.
Yes, you want to surprise them. Maybe you even want to scare them. You even want to, jump out from behind the couch and they go, ah. But ultimately, you want it to be a positive experience, and that is what I want as well. So.
Fail Waffle brings up the time that Lily has a bag of flutes.
Oh, I guess that was a troll.
That was, I think, you trolling the audience, and not
that was yes, because we had gotten I would say yes, literally hundreds of submissions for force cards where people are like, this force card gives Lily her flute back. And I was like, that's not how we're doing it. That's not how we're doing it. We're not just going to hand her the flute back.
That's right.
And then I thought it was fun to kind of undermine that whole experience.
Gotta earn that flute.
But you're absolutely right, Fail Waffle. That is another example. I guess I do it more than I'd like to admit. The second part of this question from Dan Smith is to Morgan, are there any situations where you feel you've crushed Jeff's best laid plans? Banishing the half the fulling was a particular treat.
I mean, if memory serves, someone might prove me wrong on this because it's been a minute. If memory serves, I didn't know the fulling was going to happen until after until after I saw Jeff's face that I banished one of
Yeah.
them.
Well, that was the problem, is
And
that
you were like,
I
"Oh,
introduced them as two
man."
individual things, and I
Yeah.
was going to have this big moment where they like hop on their thing,
Right.
and then you guys were like dealing with them already before they got a chance to do that.
So
And
I
that's
don't
why
think I was trolling you. I think I was just trying to be a smart player in that moment that just ended up crushing Jeff's plans. You're right. I mean, I think that what I feel worst about sometimes is the number of times I just cast sending to random characters.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's, I don't know if that's crushing Jeff's hopes as it is literally making him dance for us. Dance,
Yeah.
Jeff.
Yeah.
And
I think the casting sending to Urtenfurt was the one
the
where
worst. That was the worst one.
I was like, okay, here we go. Let's see how this goes.
That was the meanest one for sure. Casting sending to Urtenfurt. I do think this is a little bit behind the scenes. I have started, if in my prep for the episode, I have an idea, and half the time they don't happen. You can verify that too, where I'll go like, I have been thinking about casting sending to this character that might happen, because I have started to feel a little bad if I'm like literally pulling out someone we haven't talked about in 30 episodes, and I'm gonna go like, by the way, I've been thinking about that guy and I'm gonna want to talk to him for 25 words in the middle of the episode. So I have started to text Jeff on like, Monday or on Tuesday if I feel like there's a possibility that might happen.
Yeah,
because I felt
very
bad.
much appreciated, but I don't get any insight into what is going to be asked.
That's
I just
true.
Get like, hey, I'm thinking about that person.
I gave you no warning about the sending that I cast in episode 100 to the kid.
That's true. You did not.
That was me seeing the pace of how it was going, and knowing that James was not going to have time to really wrap that up in a satisfying way. But I mean, it absolutely could have sent us down a completely different path. I realized that, but it was James wanting to. Episode 100 for James, at least the first half, and including this the conversation with Nance, and I saw your question about Nance, Fail Waffle. It was about James wanting to wrap some things up in Turles, but almost in general as well. I mean, as James has said, he's not sure how much longer he's either going to be alive or be himself, and so there was a measure of wanting to close his books. I mean, not that, but tie up any loose ends. Yeah. And so checking in, making sure those kids were okay and alive and doing all right was important. And so the fact that they were, was a thought I had in the moment, actually. But
I thought that was really lovely, and
really nicely handled.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it was one of those things where it's like, we can't go so dark that these kids are now, oh my God, in trouble. It would be, I wanted to point out that in the chat, where was it? You Oakhart said, guys, my Ein desk mat just came in the mail. Woo! Oh my God, I'm crying. It is so beautiful.
Yay! They are great.
Happy. They are great.
This computer is on top of mine right now at this moment. They are great. And so much of the stuff, again, Ron has been running the merch store beautifully. I know we have gotten a few messages about delays in people's arrival of items. Please be patient. We are getting that figured out. I don't know if you know this, but supply chain issues are a major thing in the United States at this moment. So there have been delays in certain items. But we are trying to get everybody's handled and taken care of. So we apologize if there's been anything, but that's coming.
I think this is obvious, but worth stating that, we deal with a third party for fulfillment of all that stuff. So we're not like shipping stuff out of a house anywhere where, we are having to deal with a company as well. So, bear with us a little bit as we try to figure that stuff out. But I think most people have had a pretty positive experience with this version of the merch store, which is great to hear.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes. And let's see. But what
we got? Here's another. Hit me. Here's another question. David Gen Pro says, "Thanks for the fun 100th and Halloween episodes. It was great to see most of the Dungeon Run gang at the same table again, albeit virtually. And Katie and Jared's creepy dolls should have had their own horror franchise. Yeah, it was disturbing. That was disturbing. I enjoyed that, but I was like,
no.
They are really going there.
Wow, they're going
really
for it.
Going there.
Yeah,
we had talked about, like, oh, we're gonna do, let's do like this Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, hosting the thing, and it could be
and Katie and Jared are like,
Halloween thing.
Yeah, we got a great idea, and we're like, Katie and Jared got it, great, no problem. And then the night came, and I was there, and I was like, oh boy.
Yeah, it was.
They got it all right.
Yeah, like, oh my, good stuff though. Very funny.
I do think there was several. I think we got a lot of new viewers that night because I can only imagine people scrolling through Twitch, seeing that, and going, "What the heck is this?
Yeah, what is this?" Yeah, good stuff. David Genpro says, any plans for future VR sessions? Not at the moment. That was a one-off,
Sure.
a deal we made with Live CGI to just see if it would work. This was a product, or not even a product, a version of their software that they weren't sure how it was going to mesh with a live tabletop show.
Right.
And so they wanted to figure it out. We were excited to try it. And so it became this fun experiment. So if all of you really liked that and would want to see more of it, we got a lot of feedback. I know that there was a lot of shaking of the camera. These are all things that, that is the reason we did the experiment, is to kind of figure out what works and what doesn't. So it's always possible. We don't have any plans at the moment for that, but it's always possible. Yeah,
it was one of those things that it was an opportunity that came up. It was one of the reasons why we pre-taped it, to be honest, was because there was some figuring it out at the moment. But I think we were really happy with the final result. And I think Live CGI was really happy too. They were obviously thrilled that everyone came and watched and enjoyed. And so, yeah, we'll see, I think that's it. It does take a little extra editing and adjusting, and increases your crew for a little bit. So it's not something that I don't think we could do regularly, but maybe an every now and then thing for something fun. Yeah, it's a very possible.
And their system, it's really a beta at best. So they have plans to make it much cooler and have lots more effects and different environments. And I think they were trying to see the proof of concept from us, if it was something that they should put time and energy in to make more robust, because they're usually making stuff like virtual sets for the NBA, like the studio shows, and so they're not really dealing in the Twitch world, the tabletop RPG world, or anything like that. So it might be the kind of thing that it gets them to do many more cool front-facing, audience-facing things. Yeah, it was a learning experience for all of us. I hope everybody liked it. I'd love to hear feedback on that episode. It's hard. It's interesting doing a one-shot after doing a show for 100 episodes. It's like, oh, different muscles entirely. I've never DM'd a one-shot. I was actually talking to our friend Todd Stashwick about this, because Todd almost always DMs one-shots, and it's such a different thing. I've only DM'd continuous campaigns, and I think it weirdly takes pressure off when you're because you're like, oh, well, we're not going to have time to get to that tonight. Whereas with certain one shots, you're like, they've got to get the crystal before, and it's well, what's going to happen? But yes, Todd is wonderful at one shots. He's fantastic. But I looped Todd briefly into one of my home games, and that was he showed up for the 20th game with these friends of mine, and he was like, I really should try more continuous campaigns. And I'm like, yes, you should. I'm like, it's like a soap opera. I love the ongoing evolving nature of it. It is really fun. But one shots are, a different animal. It's about, it's about trying to pack as much wallop you can into a shorter period of time. And it's tough because everybody's all excited about these new characters that they made, and they want to, experiment with their characters and flesh their characters out. And you're just kind of like, I don't have time for that. I think you did this so well towards the end, where I think the best one-shot DMs I've worked with just lean into the chaos and just embrace it. I mean, probably my favorite part of the Halloween special is
is in the end when it is literally all falling apart and you've got the suit of armor trying to clean something up. The room is literally on fire. The water is everywhere. You know, everyone is free. The werebore woman is freaking out. Like
Yeah.
everything. That was so much fun. Katie's why was
So
killing me.
funny.
I did not know anything that she was going to do. And the fact that she was suspicious and just kept destroying inanimate objects just
So funny.
increasingly cracked me up as the session went
Yeah.
on. I was like, oh boy, she's just destroying everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great. I love the 3-act play with the rug. It was
The
very
rug,
funny.
the rug and the painting. But no, I mean, yeah, and the other one shot, I mean, like, I think I did a one shot for Jasper's Game Day that B. Dave Walters DM'd, and it was like we were 20th level one shot, and there was no story. There was no
Yeah,
story that happened,
yeah.
and I respected him for it because he's just sort of like, oh, there's no way we're getting to any of this. So it
Yeah.
just became like a, oh my gosh, these monsters show up. What do you guys want to do?
Well,
And then
that's
it was
I mean,
nuts.
that's the challenge, honestly, when you're DMing a one shot is you kind of want to, at least for me, I get feature creep. You know, I get like, oh, I get all these cool ideas and I want to jam pack all this stuff in, and it's like,
Right.
realistically, simple is better. And I did not go simple with the Halloween thing, and I probably could have gotten a lot simpler and it would have been maybe better. But the I think one shotting, you give them a playground, give your players a playground,
Yeah.
give them something fun to smack, and I think they'll have a good time because they're bumping off of each other.
I love a good
anyway.
murder mystery too, and murder
Yeah.
mystery D&D adventures are tricky. They are hard
Very
to pull
tricky.
off. And I thought
Yes.
this was as well done as any of them. And
Oh, thanks. Again, mine was based on an established module.
Right.
I heavily modified it, but
all the names.
I mean, yeah, and a lot of other things. But the murder mysteries are hard in the same way that puzzles are hard, because what's fun about a murder mystery is figuring it out, but it's a very delicate balance of giving enough information to figure it out, but not making it too easy, but not making it like, well, what are we even doing here?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that, there's a lot of that balance where it can really fall apart if everybody if the through line isn't there, if it doesn't make any sense of what are we,
right.
What are even the clues? So
it's kill your darlings at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. Yes.
And there's a lot of darlings that aren't going to make it. Yes. Yeah. It is that 100%. But no, it was really well done, and we had a blast, and a lot of funny moments. Guilty, blameworthy, I think, still Gil and everybody's names had to be done.
Up to no good.
Up to no good. Sheila Eyes and learning.
Sheila Eyes. Yeah.
Yes. I think I've mentioned this on the Discord, but I blame myself, I think, for this because, well, it was Ron that started it when we were talking about let's do a one shot. Yeah. And I don't know if you knew what you were going to do already. No. Okay. No. So we were talking. Ron was like, I really want to play this Owlkin wizard named Who. And I was like, I wanted to play a chronergy wizard. Should we name him When? And then you, I think, were like immediately all caps. Yes. Oh my God. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I literally built the whole thing around that. I was like, well, if the characters are going to be who, when, why, and what, it has to be a mystery. Like it has to be a murder mystery. Like there's no way. Yes. It just that has to be the way it is. So that, I mean, it also it started with the names of the characters.
It absolutely started with the names of the characters, and then it all went downhill from there.
Yeah,
it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
All right, so some more questions here. Jessica asks, Morgan, I would love a stop and check in with James. One, how did James feel overall leaving Turles? How has his thoughts, goals, or motivations changed since going to Turles? Two, in your conversation with Nance, you made sure to focus on her feelings, but how does James feel about Nance?
Okay. Beautiful, wonderful questions. Thank you. Let's see. Turles, I think James is conflicted about Turles. Obviously, he's feeling certainly better now about leaving his friends and family there, more protected and in a better position. So that felt all right. I think he the fact that he's leaving, the fact that he's okay leaving at all, is evidence of that. There is still. I was thinking about this. I was like, if we were able to free Jorel and get the moratorium reversed, I think James will feel okay. But because those are two things that he directly feels are at least partially his fault, or in some cases largely his fault. Now, having said that, there is still the chance the murder of Thad Yelmings has not been solved, and so that, and there is still the possibility of, if that remains unsolved, it's possible that what happened to Jorel could happen to somebody else, that someone else could be blamed for it, and James, that's not acceptable to him. Now, having said that, I think he has come around enough to think that he was at least somewhat justified in the crime that he did. He regrets it, but he does also revisit it and think about it. And like in that moment, he knows that he did what he could, and that Thad Yelmings, was he needed to stop him. But I think he regrets, obviously, that other people have suffered for it. That's the biggest thing, and the fact that if that case is left open, that someone else could suffer for it, is a hanging thread that James really doesn't like. So what's that going to lead? Now, having said that, James is not so much of a martyr that he is going to get himself locked up when the fate of the world is at stake and he needs to be with the heroes of Bingle and continue to help things. So I don't quite know yet how to solve that problem. But that is still a hanging problem for him. But it was more so of like, James is not going to go turn himself in now to, and put everything that we're doing as the heroes of Bingle at stake simply to suffer for the sake of someone who he thinks at least James was partially justified in killing. It's really in depth, and I dove right down the rabbit hole. Sorry, guys.
No, it's great. I think that's exactly what was needed.
Regarding Nance, the Nance conversation was, and I loved, God, I didn't know what to say. I loved that scene with you, Jeff, because James and I, it was the most awkward way into it. But what James really didn't want was what he felt was happening a little bit. And maybe he was presumptuous and he knew he could be just like, James's nightmare would have been Nance going like, what are you talking about? I've never had any interest in you whatsoever.
Right.
But James, I think, trusted his read of it enough to go, I think you have a thing for me. And while that's lovely, I think you should stop. And that was what James was really trying to prevent, was Nance. He knew he was going, maybe it would be breaking her heart, maybe it wouldn't. And I think it was a little bit, I don't know. I mean, you know more than I do, Jeff, but and it was, but for the sake of people, he is trying to protect the people that he cares about from getting too close to him. Yeah. And that's sad. And so that's what that scene was about Nance.
I'm no good for you, baby.
It's a terrible comparison, but it's the end of Harry and the Hendersons. It's John Lithgow.
Go, Harry.
Get out of here.
Get out of here.
For your own good, get out of here. And it's
Kaz Farron says a Dear Nance letter.
It is a Dear Nance letter, done face to face, hopefully done with the proper respect, but it is
it's not you, it's me being a demon.
That's right. I think, yes, I saw that. No, did James have romantic feelings for Nance? Yeah, probably. I think he liked the way she looked at him. I think he felt like a better person with her. And I think if you're lucky enough to have had someone like that in your life, who they kind of make you go like, really, you think that about me? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I think, but I do think he had, I think he respected her and appreciated her. I I think James is awkward with romance. But I think it's, yes, I do think he cared deeply for her, and possibly that it could have gone that way. And maybe earlier he would have been willing to let it go that way. But I think the sense that he wondered if maybe that it was after one of the talks with Fesh, where he was slightly concerned that she was pining after him, and that was something that he really was uncomfortable with.
So
Yeah.
interesting that we have this like lovely little nuanced relationship between the two of them, and that character was almost eliminated from the show like right after we met her. You know what I
Dude,
mean?
that's so
Isn't that
true.
wild?
It
It's so
is, it is
crazy.
so crazy. That is so true. I mused about this on the Discord, I think, too, but it's funny. It was, by almost all intents and purposes, a breakup scene.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever seen another D&D or fantasy show that has more breakup scenes than we do. We've had two now. We've had at least two
It's
that I
true,
count.
yeah.
Right? Maybe I'm missing some, but no, we've
Everybody
had at
wants
least.
to dump my NPCs. I don't understand. Is
And
it me?
Boy,
Is
in
it,
fantasy storytelling, yeah, I think it's in fantasy storytelling, that is not something you run into very often. Normally, it's like, my
no.
lost love, I will
Right.
return to you, my
Yeah.
darling, and we will be together forever. And it's sort of like, no,
not the HOB, baby. We got better things to do.
Don't. I'll see you later, baby. Yeah.
God. Quests are calling me.
No, I think I do hope. I do hope that there is a future for James's romantic life, if he's able to work his way out of this situation. But James right now,
maybe he'll find a sexy demon.
You never know. But no, I mean, James has never. James has thought his days were numbered for a while, and he has proof of it now.
Yeah, no kidding.
Corbinplate says, "Leave Trevor and Hicklefist alone. They better still be."
Yeah.
If we get back on the Tardy Plunder and discover that they're broken up, I riot.
No, that's the only way love blossoms in my world. Is it has to be two NPCs
who had no reason to get together at all.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
All right. Jessica also says. Jessica also asks, any heads up or idea when some of the breaks will be in the coming year, or even just what the holiday schedule will look like?
A very timely question. Yes.
Yes, we do know our holiday schedule. It's don't fairly, off the top of my head.
No, it's fine. It's actually fairly normal compared to what it's been in the years past, which we are going to take a week off because on I think it's the 23rd, which is the day before Thanksgiving here in the U.S. And then
no cool down that week.
No
show
take the whole week off.
Yeah.
And we will be posting this to our social media. So if you're not here, but and everywhere, but wanted to make sure everyone knew it. And then we are also taking the week off of Christmas, which I think is like the 22nd, something like that. Let me pull up my cal. The 22nd and the 29th. Both of those weeks we are not going to. No plans for this current time to have any programming. In terms of the show itself, as we talked about, Ron Ogden's Two Shot, which I'm super excited about, is starting this Wednesday. And that's a 2-shot for the next 2 weeks. And then mid-November, we will be back here with episode 101 for 1 week before Thanksgiving. And then three episodes in December. Yep. So yeah, that's the current count.
That's our plan through the end of 2021, and we'll keep giving you updates for 2022 as well. But again, those are sort of basically how we've done the last 2 years around the holidays. Yeah, we are just going to continue with that for 2021.
Yep.
And I appreciate the feedback on wanting to hear those plans as early as we know them, and we are trying. I mean, Katie Michaels is doing a great job of nailing down stuff much farther in advance than we have before. So we really get things on the calendar. We've even talked about having some sort of resource that you as viewers can check in on and see what our schedule is in advance. So, we hear you and we're working on that stuff. We'll try to communicate it as clearly and as often as we can.
David Gen Pro asks, same cast for Ron's 2-shot? No. We are.
Oh, we have awesome guests coming in. It's going to be really cool.
It's going to be really cool. They're going to be three of us. I think I can say that. That's so. So Ron will be DMing. It will be myself, Jared, and Katie, and two guests, which we are super excited about. And watch the areas soon for those announcements. We are going to be putting that out very, very shortly.
Some exciting names that you'll see. We're pretty excited about it.
Very excited.
So watch this space. Okay. Jim Whitted, our amazing supporter, James Moncton, has a question on the Patreon. Said, we all remember an old dungeon run when Jeff hinted that we'd know when Act 2 hits, which was quite the understatement. Was episode 100 the beginning of Act 3? Is this part of a 5-act structure? P.S. Love the Halloween show and excited for Ron's 2-shot. Have a lovely break. Thank you, Jim Whitted. Appreciate you. I'm glad the beginning of Act 2 landed. I think I said it specifically also. But I did not think of episode 100 as the beginning of Act 3, and I do not think of it as a 5-act structure. In my head, it's a 3-act structure.
That's what I guessed as well.
So we're sort of still in, when a warden dies, it's Act 2, so I don't think we're not really quite in the beginning of Act 3 yet in my head. There's a couple of pretty big things that still need to happen. There's big things that we know about on the horizon, right? We know about Onezeron's grave. We know about the Quake Wardens out there somewhere. We know Ereban's out there somewhere. We know the Queen of the Shazengao is still alive. These are the big hovering sort of tentpole things that the team is going to deal with, and so more to come.
Yes, I was going to say I didn't think so. I didn't think that. I think it's bad. I think it could still get worse.
Yeah, but I know that it's been dark for a while, and things. I think we'll have some light moments coming up. I think we're seeing a lot of progress, and I think even I can't wait to see what's going to happen with Civ. I think he obviously took it hard what happened with the Godslayer Blade and the Inferno Warden, but also I think he seems to be rebounding from it beautifully. I think he was actually very much the Rock of the last episode. I felt the fact that he was right Dwayne
there.
The Rock Johnson?
That's correct. Yes, exactly. Shaved his head, had the whole tattoo. It was beautiful. Yeah. Grew 10 inches. But no, it was, the fact that he was right there when James stepped out of the secret room was really beautiful. And the fact that he was there to kind of help James deal with this, By the way, can I say something? Can I intimate something from a few episodes ago? It was maybe 2-3 episodes ago. Sure. Where Jared, it was in Jared's conversation with one of the thief NPCs in Turles, where was the line when the thieves were talking about demons, and he says, Civ says, my best friend is a demon. And then he says it like it's a joke, but it's not. And I remember watching that scene and go are James and Civ best friends? It's oh man, I had such a high school moment. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I definitely had those moments.
Totally ignoring the dark, horrible part of that sentence.
That part I'm okay with. That part I know.
My best friend is guilty of murder. I'm his best friend. Yeah.
What? Did you say I'm
funny.
cute?
Did you choose me? All right, so I think that. Oh no, wait, we got some more. We got some more questions. No, that was the last of the Patreon questions. So if there's any questions or comments in the chat that you would like me to bring up in our discussion, please post them. I think there was a few that I passed over.
I'm so curious. I think we're also starting to get to parts. It's a well-worn theme on this show, but I think the fact that we're getting to parts of the map, Jeff, now that I think originally, obviously, you never expected us to get to.
Right. Yeah.
Without spoiling anything, how do you go into building a town like Axbright? Or looking at the map, looking at the beautiful map, there's another big city between Axbright and Zhang, Oya
Oh yeah,
Tuscan.
Tuscan.
I
Yeah.
I couldn't name on two fingers with the things I know about Oya Tuscan. So I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't wait to see what you've got waiting for us. And maybe it's not much. Maybe it's like, and you drive by Oya Tuscan. It's a nice looking city. Go
Yeah.
on.
Well, you know,
But
at a
I'm
certain point,
curious.
you don't need to make
No,
every place doesn't have to be a meal, right?
no, it
You know,
doesn't.
but it does. It's opportunity, and there's some fun things about leaving things. I mean, although if you're a real eagle-eyed viewer, there have been mentions of Oya Tuscan, kind of what takes place there.
It's come up before. I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember where. I feel like it was one of the dwarves. No, I don't remember where
I can
Oya
tell you, but
Tuscan was
I
mentioned.
don't want to spoil it for folks. Anyway, it's fun to kind of leave things possible. Sometimes you want to give yourself some leeway as far as, you know, oh, I might need to do something. I might need to interject something into a place. But then there are also big places on the map that like I've always had in my head of like, oh, I really want to do this thing in this place. We may never get there, but I have this cool idea. And as far as like building a city, the way I do it at least is I come to it from what's needed, right? And what themes are we dealing with here?
Right.
What does it mean to our players? What
What just
feeling do we
happened in
want
the
to
greater
convey?
world? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you know, I think I've mentioned this before, but just in case I haven't, when it came to my brain's not working. Civ's hometown, Olsvach. When the original concept of Olsvach, this is going to sound crazy if I haven't said this before. I may have said this before, but the original concept of Olsvach in 2019 or whatever it was, when Jared and I, like when he was talking about backstory
before the show,
yeah, was I wanted to do a city that had lived through a pandemic.
Yeah.
Like that was literally the idea. Like my big idea,
you know,
was
that
like,
fun fantasy idea.
I'm not even joking. Like that was the whole concept. Is like there were the haves and the have-nots, and this pestilence swept through the land, and like it was going to be this cool thing where everybody had to wash their money. Like if you were going to go there, people washed their money before touching it because they didn't want to pass the disease. And like between then and when we actually went there, that happened in the real world, and it became not a fantasy concept. And so it completely shifted the like emphasis of what that town was going to be like. And we sort of held on to the haves and have-nots idea, but got rid of the whole disease side of it mostly. Although it was in the
history.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing where you go, well, things have got completely changed for what the concept originally was.
Pull away from that. That is amazing.
So you kind of, you know, you try to build it out from what is needed from the player's perspective and from the story perspective, and go from there. And I think Axbright's going to be a lot different than going to Olsvach or Turles or any of the other big places we've been.
Kind of a suburb. No, I don't know if I'm saying. I mean,
a bit. Yeah, I mean, it's a much smaller town. Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot. I don't want to spoil anything, but I think it's going to be different.
Fascinating. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's see. I'm seeing some more questions in chat. I know this has come up in question before, Fail Waffle, but I hear that you want to hear about it. How did James feel or think about Fahima wanting to leave Turles not once but twice before finishing the business there? I mean, look, I think I said it in the moment. I think James was empathetic but also frustrated with it. I mean, I think Jessica handled it beautifully in terms of when it was revealed that what was driving that was fear. What was driving that was the things, and maybe it's easier to criticize because it's more almost like nakedly selfish, but like I think we've all been there sometimes when, like, if you ever been in those moments when things, you know, you're like, I still have so many other things I need to do, and those are like the most important things to me, and the most important things to her are her father and finding out what's, you know, and so that it causes you to say and think like terrible things like, should we just leave this place? And of course, James at that moment was like, no, we can't just leave. And okay, I get it. I get that those are priorities, and I get that's our job, but also, like, I think that's a little bit of maturity sometimes, and Fahima's kind of single-mindedness and still youth with her, because again, keep in mind, I mean, she's grown a lot, but she's still young, in terms of like, trust me, as a man who regrets so much of what he's done, you will regret walking away from this.
Mm.
And
Yeah. Cool.
and
That's
keeping
awesome.
keeping eyes on the prize. And I didn't get to say that super clearly in game, but I mean, that's probably the clearest that I've ever said it. But it's just sort of like, this is this is what this has to be about. And so, I hear you. I hear you. There are bigger interests. I know the forest for the trees. And yes, we've had the argument before about the job of the heroes of Bingle is all of Ein. We cannot get to, as I think we said when we left Olsvach, you could stay in Olsvach and deal with the problems in Olsvach for years. It's systemic.
Yeah. Right.
And unfortunately, there comes a point in our story and in what the heroes of Bingle are supposed to do that you have to leave. And it's case by case basis where you kind of have to know what is your job and what isn't. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, and that's a struggle and trying to find that. And I think part of our story is, what is a hero, and what is what are the consequences of our actions, and
Yeah.
and what's worth fighting for, what's worth dying for.
I
And
mean, I think those are the big themes of the campaign in a lot of ways, you know, and I think that's kind of what that whole No Nezerons section was about when we were time traveling, is like, what are your priorities? How do you define being a hero? What do you need to do?
Yeah.
Prove it to yourself, define yourself, instead of having this sort of broad generalization of hero. Be specific, like, okay, well, when push comes to shove and there's no easy answer, what do you do?
Right.
And I think, to me, that's the most interesting kind of story, is these people who want to do the right thing and have to figure out what the right thing is.
Yeah.
You know,
there was a movie, it's not a particularly great movie, but there was a movie a few years ago with Ben Kingsley, and I think it was called The Confession. And there was a line in that movie, I think it went straight to video. I don't know why I saw this. I was spending a lot of time on a Blockbuster Video at the time. There was a line from that movie that I will never forget, which is, it's not hard to do the right thing. It's hard to sometimes know what the right thing is.
Yes.
And once you know what the right thing is, it's hard not to do that thing.
Right. Yeah. It's the knowing. And that's how, in my experience, life is full of those things where your heart's in the right place, but you still don't know what to do. You know, it's not a moral question for you. You know what effect you want to have. You just don't know how to make that effect happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's to me very interesting storytelling. I think that's fun, and that's the kind of predicaments. I think somebody else said this on a previous, I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Jared. Maybe it was you. Somebody said something along the lines of, as characters in D&D level up, they become demigods, and they become so powerful that it's hard to provide challenges to them.
Mm-hmm.
And that what I'm doing, or at least the way I've kind of dealt with that, is that the challenges become narrative challenges.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It becomes hard choices. Yeah. And I think that's really fun, for me, at least.
I coined the term at the time, emotional challenge rating. Which is, like, yes, you could keep finding larger and larger monsters to throw at us, or you could go like, by the way, the city where you're from, that thing you did has caused the suffering of dozens of people. Like, my God, oh God. It doesn't matter that I'm level 20. What does that even mean?
There's no 6th level spell that's going to magically fix that. You know, that's what's fun about it, I think.
So true. Yeah,
a couple of other questions here. This one I get a lot. This comes from Kraken Dice. Jeff, have you considered, when this campaign is over, creating a source book of your NPCs for people to buy and implement? Are you keeping them for future use? Nothing would make me happier,
of course,
than having an opportunity to do that.
Yes.
I obviously, I think the real answer to that question is, if we get more viewers, if we get more people who love this story, it becomes a no-brainer. It becomes a, you know, if we get more people that would want that, I would absolutely love to do it. I'd love to partner with some group of some company that would make it look really awesome. I mean, yes, nothing would make me happier, but I have no idea how to accomplish it. To be honest.
That's yes, amazing. It's Oh, in fact, wait a minute. I think we can talk about this in reference to Mr. Ron Ogden's Two Shot coming up. This is the first side adventure that we've done that takes place in Ein.
Yes, Ron specifically asked if he could set it in Ein, and I was very honored by that. I know Jared had kind of hinted at wanting to do that potentially with his, but he, you know, the world he created was so cool anyway. So this will be sort of set in a place in Ein that is on the map that we haven't been to yet. So and at a time that we may not be. It's going to be cool. You should tune in. I think Ron's going to knock it out of the park. As
I'm very excited. But yes, it is. We're canonizing other adventures and parts of the map. We're continuing to build out other parts of Ein, which is something that I'm really excited about for sure. Yes.
Here's another question from Kaz Farron. Jeff, not sure you can answer this. How much of that last secret room for Katie was from original backstory stuff? How much was developed from conversations afterwards, and how much was just from your own thoughts about where it might be fun to move that story from here?
I'm going to take my microphone. I can take my
No, it's fine. I will just say 100% from backstory stuff. Literally, I had to pull up my Word document of the original thing that I emailed Katie before I ever met her face to face. I had to pull it up to reread it to refresh myself before doing that. So it is 100% established backstory. So.
I have no idea what it is. Because, I mean, I think Jared gave away whose his was with. It was pretty easy to figure out who's Ron's was with and who's Jessica's was with. And I think Jessica told us right afterwards. Yeah. You knew who mine was going to be with. Yeah. But to right now, I have no idea what Katie's secret room was. I have no idea.
I love that so much.
And I don't even know who it could be.
Well, that's what was so delicious for me about episode 100 is I hoped that there was this anticipation of like, well, everybody except Katie has a secret room, but there's no
She's an open book, Lily Dumblestone.
Yeah, there's no Lily a secret room. So I guess he's just doing 4 out of the 5. Okay. And then that's why I was very much enjoyed having that be the last thing that happened in the episode.
That's amazing. I think it was such kudos to you. It was such a cool way to commemorate the time past, because I know we felt a little weird after 99 because 99 was this huge, enormous climactic event. And we were like, what's episode 100 going to be? Episode 100 is just going to be a campfire episode. We're not going to do anything. And so congratulations, honestly, on finding a way to make it like so special. And I think really, yeah,
everybody did. I mean, I'm so proud of the new look of the show. I hope people like that. I think it's really sharp. I think it's really clean and beautiful. I mean, Jessica and Ron put so much work in on that, and you and Katie have been producing like crazy, and Jared working on Arcane Artistry so hard. I mean, the whole team has really busted our butts, in the last 6 months to make this thing something different than what it was, something the next step forward. And I think episode 100 really was our celebration of that, and kind of putting our flag in the ground and saying, hey, the next leg of this journey is going to be ours. It really is. We're picking up the ball and we're carrying it forward. So
it's so true. I mean, talk about, it's only been a year or something like that. I mean, it blows my mind that episode 78 of Caffeine was our second episode of January. No, first episode of January. And that was this year. And that could not feel longer ago.
That's
know.
nuts.
That's nuts. That's nuts.
Time is a flat circle. I
The
don't
amount of
understand it
life
anymore.
lived, yeah. Amount of life lived in that time is nuts. It was the second episode of January. I thought it might be unknown Axiom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I try not to rest on laurels too much, but I'm very proud. I'm very proud of the show, and I'm very proud of you, Jeff, and I'm very proud of the team.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I feel the same way.
We wouldn't be working as hard as we do if we did not all believe in the show, and we do.
Yeah, and again, this program you're watching now, the Dungeon Cooldown, is really for the people that support us the most, our friends on Patreon, and we could not be doing it without you. That is the beginning and end of it. And all the folks that donated on episode 100, it was really wonderful and generous as well. We were grateful. But tell your friends, like help spread the word of the show. It really is the little engine that could, at this moment we have this wonderful, passionate, vibrant fan base, but we're sort of just percolating below the surface. And I think there's a lot of potential for many, many more folks to find us and fall in love with these characters as well. So
we're still scratching the surface. I mean, you guys saw with episode 100, we had a lot of people watching the show, and that was really amazing to kind of get those new people in, and it's going really well. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, patrons.
Yes.
So much more coming. If you're not following us on social medias, make sure you are, because we're doing some content specifically for Instagram sometimes. Both Jessica and I have tried to relay the entire plot of the show in 1 minute on our Instagram. That's
so funny. So fun. If you haven't watched those yet,
very
check
funny.
those out. Morgan really tried hard, and then Jessica's is really very funny. So
Jessica's is hilarious.
Watch them back to back. It's great.
I like that dichotomy. Morgan tried really hard. Jessica's is hilarious. Yes, incredible. But yes, amazing. Well, okay. And with that, be on the lookout for all those things. Yeah. And more details about Wednesday night coming very soon. All this stuff coming.
Thank you, as always, everybody, for supporting the show. We'll see you next time. Until then, humankind,
be both.
Yay, doing great, girl.